playing and just tearing the show down and going outside, they have standing in line at the Howard. They'd be standing all around the corner whenever we played, yeah.
When we played our theme song and the curtain would go up, the audiences would just get out of their seats and dance in the aisles, and they would cheer us as though they were cheering for the Brooklyn Dodgers.
For us to come up from Mississippi like that, it was a thrill of our life to work in those theaters and play with those type of entertainers.
Because this was a school band. It originated at Piney Woods School in Piney Woods, Mississippi.
They had musical aggregations that would travel around during the summer when school was out to raise money for the school.
They traveled throughout the area of the Deep South. They came to my hometown. The International Sweethearts of Rhythm were brought there by Mr. Peake, W.I. Peake, who was the mortician, and most black people looked up to him then. And in those days it was Negroes. And he asked Mrs. Jones to let me sing.
And Evelyn came up, and she sang 2 or 3 numbers with the band. She was cute, she could sing good. And Mrs. Jones went over to Evelyn's mother and asked her, and you might not believe this, but Evelyn left town with us that night and joined our band.
We had breakfast at 6 o'clock and we started rehearsing at 7. We rehearsed all day, you know. I mean, that was one of the main things we did, you know, because that was our job to play music. So it was like working on the farm or working any place else. This was our job to rehearse all the time, you know.
Before we left the school, Mr. Dan Gary and Al Day started booking the band into places other than schools and churches and armories. We started playing theaters and nightclubs and whatnot. And we left the school with the bus, with the instruments, with the uniforms. And we came to Washington, D.C.
I had been directing a professional male orchestra. And of course, the draft board had taken a lot of my men. And when I first joined the International Sweethearts, I said, what a bunch of cute little girls, but I don't know whether I could get along with that many women or not.
And I heard him advertise he wanted a girl trumpet player. I wrote to Miss Jones, and she said, okay. And she sent me a ticket and a little change. And I met all those beautiful sweethearts, all those yellow and white and pretty gals, and I enjoyed it. And I went in there and started trying to blow that horn.
By having these more experienced musicians in there, it made them blow harder.
Sweethearts of Rhythm was the first live band that my mother took me to see that only the blacks could dance to their music and the whites would sit in the balcony.
We didn't really try to get into any of the places in the South because of the integrated group. We saved ourselves a lot of trouble and headaches by staying on the bus.
There was no facility to cook there. Tiny Davis made sandwiches and things and sold it to us.
Trying to make a little money, and I was selling the young girls some food. I'd buy it out, bologna, and make them good sandwiches. I'd wash my hands, though. And
we ate together, we slept together, we lived together. And our sole purpose was putting across the music. That was the language that was spoken among the girls.
Objected to.
We had these white girls that was traveling with us. We had about 3 or 4. They would paint their faces dark in order to play, you know, so the police wouldn't come and take them off the stand or they wouldn't be arrested.
It was absolutely necessary that I pass as black, or at least attempt to, all the time. To try to, using different makeup and turn my skin orange. I mean, I never came out right. We tried tight permanents, and I always looked very freakish and not quite right. But we tried everything we could. And most of the time I just ended up by hiding.
Somebody reported it to the authorities that we had white people in the band.
We had heard that some sheriffs were nosing around the bus, and they had a feeling, or they knew, or somehow or other they heard that there were some white women.
We had to slip them out of the back door of the bus before the police came to search the bus to see if we had white girls in it. So we put them in a black cab driver. He was frightened. He didn't want to even drive the girls.
Nobody thought to take anything, enough money, or, you know, just running out of this bus. 3 of us, we had to lie on the floor of the cab, and this poor little frightened cab driver raced across town and got us to the train station.
We ran into many little incidents like that, you know, in the South, but that didn't stop us.
We had the goal to do this in the South, in the Deep South.
We didn't like people calling us a novelty band because we were working hard, we were practicing hard, And we considered ourselves the same as male musicians. We put in the time, we put in the hours, and we didn't consider ourselves a novelty band.
When you're talking about the Sweethearts of Rhythm, you're talking about a band back there then that really was a novelty because women really didn't go into that business.
Well, they said things like they're okay, that's okay for a woman, you know, they're playing okay for girls.
They had a young lady there playing drums. Her name was Pauline. What a drummer. She played drums like a man.
They seemed to think that I suppose if we were boys, we would sound better. I don't know.
Of course, now, they didn't have the power.
We met them. We met Joe Louis, and we met Erskine Hawkins. He had just made Tuxedo Junction, and Billie Holiday, and the entertainers that really were top-notch.
Louis Armstrong was one of our very dearest friends, you know. He took a personal interest in the band, and so did Count Basie. Count Basie was the same way. They would come and stand in the wings at the Apollo Theater and listen to the band. They'd get a big bang. I'd see them standing back there smiling when they'd hear the girls take off on their instruments.
Louis Armstrong came to hear us, and he tried his best to quit our group and go with them, and he offered her about 5 or 10 times the salary she was making with the Sweethearts of Rhythm.
Why did you go? Well, I love them gals too much. What? Love them gals too much. They were some sweet gals, you know. I liked them.
Great.
We played a battle of music against them at the Savoy Ballroom in Harlem in 1941. It was like sports. You know, she was trying to outplay me, and I was out trying to outplay her.
Pauline Brady was the drummer, and she kept what I would say she knitted the rhythm section together.
Whenever we would appear in the theater, we were just playing our own music. We had to play the act's music. And we worked at the Paradise Theater with Ella Fitzgerald. She told her agent, I don't think those girls can play my music. I don't think they can cut my repertoire. So we rehearsed, and the show went off very smoothly. And from then on, she got to be a very good friend.
New York, the Apollo, that's where we tore them up.
We used to see them at the Apollo Theater in Harlem, and they were great. They used to have the band, the balcony jumping, the orchestra rocking, sometimes people running up and down the aisles.
And the mob of people trying to get in to see the Sweethearts of Rhythm.
We went to Europe, actually, by popular demand from the soldiers who were stationed there and who had heard our overseas broadcast that we made from Los Angeles.
On my left are the Sweethearts of Rhythm, one of America's top known girl bands, and on my right, our own Armed Force Radio Officers. Jack, they can't wait. 36 solid gold give artists, boys and girls, to lift you right out of this coffin.
The war was just over when we got over there. And we traveled all over Germany, France, Belgium.
The things that we saw, we stayed in Germany 6 months. I couldn't have paid to be on way in Germany for 6 months.
Well, Germany was tore up completely, parts of it.
We played the larger cities. We played what was left of the Nuremberg Opera House.
I'm a big fat mama. I sang that in the Nuremberg Opera House. And Hitler haunted me all that night. Next day.
There was a distinction between white and black soldiers. Whites were in one group and blacks were in another. So we were sent to Europe to entertain the black soldiers predominantly.
After the war, there were many musicians who were soldiers who came back home, and they were looking for jobs, and they were given the first preference. And there were not as many jobs for female musicians as there had been when the war was on.
Yes, when my baby left me, I fell on my knees and cried. He's got the kind of loving that leaves me always satisfied.
I never dreamed that band was making history at the time I was with it. But now I know that they were the greatest girl band in America.
How can I put it? It shaped my life. Those years with the Sweethearts shaped my life forever.
And it's something that I will always treasure in my heart.
Do you want to jump, children? Yeah. Do you want to jump, children? Yeah. Do you want to jump, children? Yeah. Do you want to jump, children? Yeah.